The prohibition of LGBT acts has been agreed upon by the scholars. The fiqh books refer to LGBT as an abominable act, al-fahizya, that goes beyond the provisions of Allah. Some other fiqh books call it al-luwath, which refers to the deeds of Lut's people. There are also many verses in the Quran that emphasize the prohibition of LGBT acts. In this series of verses, Allah explains 3 forms of torment that were inflicted on gay perpetrators at the time of Prophet Lut alayhi salam, namely they were tortured with a loud thunder that occurred just before sunrise. Together with that, their country was lifted high into the air and then turned upside down. Who was originally above became below, while being showered with hard stones that fell in succession on their heads. As mentioned in another verse, namely the Quran Surah Hud verses 82 to 83, so when our decision came, we overturned the land of the people of Lut, and we showered them with stones from burning ground, which is marked by your Lord. And the torment is not far from the wrongdoer. Al-Bukhari explained, Sigil is a hard and large stone. Another scholar said, that is clay stone that is burned. When explaining the word musawamatan, which is marked, Ibn Kathir cites the opinion of Qatada and Ikrimah, 2 interpreters of the Tabi'in generation, that the people of the Prophet Lut alayhi salam were showered with stones marked with engraved on them the names of people who will be overwritten the rock. The rock sprinkled coals and hit the inhabitants of the country and residents who were scattered in various surrounding villages. One time, a man was talking among people. Suddenly he was hit by a rock from the sky and fell among them. The stones rained down on them all over the country and they all died. The following are verses of the Quran which emphasize the prohibition of these heinous acts. 1. Surah As-Surah verses 165 to 166. Why do you go to the kind of men among humans, and you leave the wives that your Lord made for you? Even you are people who transgress. 2. Surah Al-Araf verse 80. And we also sent Lot, when he said to his people, why do you commit abominable deeds, which have never been done by anyone before you in this world? 3. Surah Al-Isra verse 32. And do not approach adultery, adultery is truly an abomination, and a bad way. 4. Surah Al-Araf verse 33. Say, my Lord only forbids acts that are abominable, both visible and hidden, and acts of sin, violating human rights without good reason. Forbidding, associating partners with Allah with something that Allah has not sent down evidence for, and forbidding, fabricating do with Allah what you do not know. 5. Surah Hud verse 181. They, the angels, said, O Lut, indeed we are the messengers of your Lord, they will not be able to disturb you, so go with your family at the end of the night and none of you will look back, except your wife. Indeed, he, also, will be overwritten, torment, that befell them. Indeed, the time of torment for them is at dawn. Isn't dawn near? Quran Surah Hud verse 81. 6. Surah As-Surah verses 173 to 174. And we showered them with rain stones, so how bad the rain befalls those who have been warned. Indeed, in that there is a sign of Allah's power, but most of them do not believe. Quran Surah As-Surah verses 173 to 174. 7. Surah An-Naml verse 55. Why do you go to men to fulfill your lust, not to women? Indeed, you are a people who do not know the consequences of your actions. Imam Asy Sayakani explained, verse 55 of Surah An-Naml is a warning that was delivered repeatedly to the people of Prophet Lut for their actions that exceeded the limits. They commit abominable deeds only to satisfy lust. At the end of verse 55 of Surah An-Naml, it is stated, Tajaluan has a meaning that refers to ignorance. Imam Asy Sayakani said, "The people of Sodom are a people who are ignorant of the prohibitions on their actions and the consequences they cause." 8. Quran Surah Al-Araf verse 80. And, we also sent the Prophet Lut, when he said to his people, "Why are you doing this very despicable act, which has never been done by anyone in this world before you?" Quran Surah Al-Araf verse 80. 9. Quran Surah Al-Ankabut verse 28. According to Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi's research in Al-Mujam al-Mafaris, this verse is repeated with a slightly different editorial in the Quran Surah Al-Ankabut verse 28. And remember when Lut said to his people, "You really did a very heinous, homosexual, act that had never been done by anyone from the people before the people of this world." The sentence atatuna, "Why are you doing it?" is replaced by innakum latatuna, "You are actually doing it." The verses above are some of the verses that explain LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender. This acronym came into use since the 1990s and replaces the gay community as this term is more representative of the groups that have been mentioned. The Quran also describes the rewards for those who show their approval of this deviant behavior. This was done by the wife of Prophet Lut who had betrayed because she did not believe in the messages of truth brought by Prophet Lut. Prophet Lut's wife even called for immorality to the guests of Prophet Lut. In another opinion, the intended betrayal is a form of hypocrisy or sedition. Imam Asy Sayakani, regarding verse 54 of Surat An-Naml, also mentions the sin of those who see the actions of LGBT but still do not admit it. The vision in question is vision with the heart, that is, through knowledge, or with the sight of one's own eyes. This is because the actions of the Sodomites were not carried out in secret but rather openly because of their arrogance. And remember the story of Lut, when he said to his people, "Why do you do fahizya, abominable, deeds, when you see the abomination of those immoral acts?" Quran Surah An-Naml verse 54. According to chroniclers, historians, the destruction of the people of Prophet Lut alayhi salam who were wallowing in immorality occurred 4,000 years ago. There is no clue to the location where the incident occurred until in 1924. An archaeologist named William Albert went to the Dead Sea to conduct research there. Finally, he and his team found the remains of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah around the Dead Sea. Sodom and Gomorrah are located above the Moab Fault, and the destruction of two of the people of Prophet Lut alayhi salam is interpreted as occurring through a series of geological disasters. This catastrophic disaster has leveled Sodom and Gomorrah and killed all the inhabitants except Prophet Lut alayhi salam, his two daughters and a person who believes in him. The city of Sodom, Arabic, Sodom, is where the term sodomy was born. In Hebrew, Sodom means burning and Gomorrah, Arabic, Amura, means buried. In the Al-Quran the people of Prophet Lut alayhi salam are called al-Mutafikat, which means turned upside down, according to the Quran Surah An-Najm verse 53. Which means, "And the tempest of the wind has torn down the land of the people of Lut." And Surah An-Najm verse 54. Which means, "Then bury the land as doom with the debris that befalls it." Islam is a faith that humanizes people, hence the best method to deal with individuals who practice immorality is to make a distinction between the act and the offender. Therefore, in Islam, the sinful act is what must be avoided. The offenders, however, are also people who should be treated with respect and compassion. Precisely, they should be embraced because of an oversight or one or two things so do actions that are not justified by religion. So, responding to this, actions that must be avoided but human dignity and degree must be maintained.